Swimming like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shrimp Tank, coming to you virtually from Seattle and the entire snowy Pacific Northwest. Listen, if you want to learn how to start, grow, or run a successful business, this right here is the podcast for you. This is where we say street smarts and book smarts collide. And with the icy weather, maybe they're colliding more than ever. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dan Whedon, and my co-host today is Brett Clark. I'll introduce Brett in just a minute. Our guest is Tim Forrest. Tim helps food entrepreneurs and established companies get their products onto shelves and into the hands of consumers. Tim has generated over 1 billion, that's 1 billion with a B, in revenue and company valuations for his clients. I hope you're hungry for what he's going to send to us. We're going to learn how he's taken regular people with recipes to great heights as food entrepreneurs. Tim, welcome. We'll be with you in just a minute. Everyone, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts: iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube, Overcast. We are ubiquitous. We come to you from about a dozen cities, including the mothership in Atlanta, Boston, Boca Raton, Knoxville, Columbus. Now, before we bring on Tim, Brett, we need to talk about why you're here. Welcome to my friend, Brett Clark. How are you doing?
Buddy, I am glad to be here, my friend. This is awesome. This is like, I feel like a Triple Crown winner, right? I feel like Ted Williams, because I started as a guest. I came on as a sponsor, and now I'm the Triple Crown. I'm coming in as a guest co-host. This is fantastic.
The amazing thing is you just referenced a guy who was great in 1941, Ted Williams, a splinter. Of course, I know who he is. Now, maybe some of our younger people are going, who? But listen, they can't say who to Brett Clark. Brett Clark, yes, BC Fitness Studio. Thank you, first of all, for being one of our great corporate sponsors. We'll talk more about your business during the commercial breaks. Thank you for that. You were a past guest just when you were getting BC Fitness Studio started. I know you have a podcast that you do. I think it's called The Daily Grind or something like that.
Close. Fitness.
Rise and Grind. Rise and Grind
podcast. We renamed it, though. It's Fitness Full Circle Podcast.
Fitness Full Circle.
People didn't want to rise and grind. They didn't want to
rise and
Full Circle, yeah.
Fitness Full Circle. Perfect. Well, we'll talk about a lot more of that later. Brett, again, thank you for being here. Tim Forrest is a good friend of mine. I say that we've only known each other for several months, but we are part of the same global mastermind group. Tim is actually coming to us from sunny Florida. He doesn't even know what snow probably looks like. He's coming to us from sunny Florida, but he works internationally, and that's why I thought, especially since Seattle and the Pacific Northwest is such a foodie place, I'd bring Tim on. As you heard, Tim is an expert on this, on helping people turn their recipes into billions of dollars. We're going to talk about that. So Tim, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's exciting to be here. And also, thank you, Coach Brett, for helping with duties here on the podcast.
So listen, Tim, I'm going to start with food right away. One of the things I learned first after talking with you that absolutely blew my mind revolves around kimchi. And I can't think of a better way to start this podcast off for people to get an idea of what you do. I want you to tell the story about kimchi and a very special client you have.
Sure. In around 2009, I met Lauren, who was packaging. She took her mother's recipe and was selling it on a 4x4 table and was selling it in mason jars and just selling it a jar at a time. And with my background, we started talking, working together. Fast forward, working with her for a number of years. If you're curious, she sold $33 million worth of kimchi in the last 10 years since we met. Just from
so hold on. You're telling, and I think I the number I forgot. She went from selling, now we're talking about scaling, I think, going from jar by jar to $33 million worth of kimchi in how many years?
In about, it's been 12 years, roughly 12 years. She is the number one national premium kimchi artisan kimchi in the United States now from
And what's the kimchi brand so people can buy it?
mother-in-law's kimchi, and you can find it at Whole Foods nationally, and then most natural and premium food stores around America, including Walmart.
So before I let Brett get a word in edgewise, I mean, people are hearing that and going, "Oh my gosh, how did you get her to that point? What is it within your background and your experience that you were able to help her scale like that?"
Yeah, that's a great question. One, she's very talented. She's very dedicated. Her mother had a great recipe, a great product, but that's not what it takes. To answer your question, it's perfect to be on here, Dan, because it's really a combination of my street smarts and my book smarts. Real simple. I began loading food trucks, almost 40 years ago, and then I got promoted to truck driver, and I was delivering to all the various channels in food. So stadiums, theme parks, supermarkets, convenience stores, schools. So food service. I learned the gamut from the street of how to work there. Also, at the same time, I had won national awards from the American Advertising Federation and marketing awards from Professional Sales Association in California. So I had experience in school. I was really focused on marketing, but combining that with the street smarts and then working for, after I graduated and was promoted from, driving trucks, I worked for the two largest brands in the world, food brands, Nestle and Unilever, for a decade, learning their systems and processes. You combine all that together and just share that with a brand owner, implement it, and then boom, 10 years later, she's selling 33 million. I have another client, a former bartender. He came to me in 2018. He now is at $6 million a year in sales. He has 50 employees. He was just entered into the congressional record for the success of his business there in Kentucky, and that's Dano's.
That's fantastic. That's and I want to applaud you, man, because you went ahead and you pounded the tagline for the Shrimp Tank, where street smarts and book smarts collide. Thank you for dropping that. That was amazing. Hey, I just want to ask you about this. We got people, and they love their recipes, and I go to the farmers markets and I go to these things and I see these people, sharing their gifts and their talents. Are those the type of people that you're looking for? I mean, to bring those people to the next level?
Well, those are exactly who I work for, the next level. The issue is, though, chefs and creators are some of the worst people to work with to scale a business. Also, they're some of the best. And the reason is the chefs think their product recipe is the ideal solution, and that's the reason their product should go and become fantastic around the world. But it's not because of the recipe. That's the fourth item on I have a new book coming out. Is along the same line. Everybody's got a recipe. And so I learned that from Wally Amos, Famous Amos Cookies. But product and flavor, the item that you're making and delivering, that's the fourth most important part about scaling a business to millions. And so that's what's so different about me. I'm not necessarily a foodie. I am very, very smart about food, but I love food and I love to eat. But I wouldn't consider myself a foodie or a chef. Chefs come to me and I help them scale their business. They have to have a great product. But there's a lot more things that are important much more important than product for them to be successful.
Tim, it's funny, and I guess I'm going to date all of us a little bit. When I first met you, I went back to the Seinfeld episode of the Soup Nazi, the great Seinfeld episode where he kept all his recipes in the dresser drawer where Elaine found the mulligatawny and all of that, and they had these recipes. And I was just listening to what you said, and so it's more. There's something obviously more to take that recipe, which I've got to believe so many of your clients, I don't want to say are married to, but they're kind of married to it, and then put it into a format that can scale nationally, internationally, whatever. What are ways that you've been able to influence those people to kind of work those clients, the people who became clients, to go from a bartender, to nothing wrong. I love bartenders, but to go from that to be able to run a $6 million or more business?
Yeah, so I mean, it's so simple, but it's taken me 40 years to figure this out and have a system to do it.
That's how simple it was. It took 40 years, right?
Yeah, it took me, it's not that difficult when you think about it. But so often, because chefs won't follow this or believe this, they find what happens is people that do follow this, like myself and then other business folks, will actually get a recipe that someone else created, and they'll develop the business around it and scale it. And so, but the number one, the first thing is it's an opportunity. It's a market. So it's a niche market. It's a consumer market. It's a group of consumers that have a need, and that's number one. Number one are people that are interested and need that product for some reason. There's something missing. There's something they want. It does a job for a group of people. And the key is identifying. The number one thing that I do with my clients is we identify that market. And we identify those consumers, those shoppers that most likely will pick the product up. And I can share an example. Sir, have you ever heard of Dyson, Sir James Dyson in the UK?
Is that like the chicken?
Yeah, the Dyson vacuum cleaners. Are you familiar
Oh.
with Dyson?
Okay.
Di-
Yes.
Are you? Okay, so Sir James Dyson is the inventor. He worked for years to create the vacuum cleaner. His particular vacuum cleaner, the technology. And so one of their development managers for one of their divisions came to me and asked for help for me to grow that business. So they're very smart about creating this technology. They're brilliant at what they do. At the same time, I was able to go in and use the strategy we're talking about. The market. We didn't get to the number two piece, the number two and number three. Number two is what you communicate, say to the market. And then the third piece is your distribution channel. And you need a channel. Brett had mentioned farmers market, but you got to have a location. You've got to have a distribution source so you can transact with the consumer and take money from give them exchange value for the payment. But with Dyson, that's what I didn't work at all with the segment. They already knew, for the most part, their segments. What I worked with is on their channel, the distribution channels. And in 1 year, we were able to double their sales. It was 83% increase in sales in 1 year for this business-to-business division of Dyson by just simply going through this checklist of those, the 5 areas that I'm talking about. You've got the target market. You've got the messaging we do for that market. The third one is the channel. The fourth one is that product. So the product that you're tasting, the one the chef is preparing, that's number 4 in the list as far as being able to leverage that for scale.
What's everybody is a pizza place. Everybody's a coffee shop. Everybody's a barbecue sauce. How do you identify this business has something that what it takes to get themselves to the next level? In a sea of barbecue sauces, I've got the next greatest barbecue sauce.
Right.
How do we identify that as being success?
Well, real simple. I mean, for me, it's very simple. And I am actually approached by so many barbecue sauce guys, so many different recipes. But I just ask them, share with me your purchase orders over the last 30 days. Share with me who you've sold to in the last 30 days. Share with me who is buying your product. And I can go through that. So I want to know every single purchase that you've made for that product, and it'll explain to me what they have, what's successful, and where they have traction, and what I can scale and leverage from that. That's exactly with Dyson. That's exactly what I did. I asked Dyson, the division people. I said, send me all your invoices. Send me every purchase order for a 30-day period, and I went through that and identified the opportunity.
Hey, before we dive into the commercial, talk to us a little bit about the book. You mentioned the new book coming out.
Right.
Somebody listening to this who has that, they've got the barbecue sauce and want to learn more. Tell us about the book.
Everybody's got a recipe. So I met Wally Amos. He's if you don't know who Wally Amos is, he's founder of Famous Amos Cookies. He's also in the Smithsonian Institution for creating the world's first cookie store. So a standalone cookie store. Wally Amos invented that, and Helen Reddy actually loaned him the money to open that store because he was in Hollywood. Seals. He managed, I think it was Seals and Croft, but he managed talent out in Hollywood. And so anyway, Wally, I was talking to Wally, and he became a friend of mine. I actually worked with Wally Amos, and I made a comment, and he looked at me. He says, "Tim, I don't need a recipe to sell a cookie. I just need promotion. I just need to go out there and take action. I need consumers, and I need a cookie, but I don't need a recipe." And he right there, that germinated, has been a part of me for the last, since he's told me that, at least 20 years, that the recipe is not important to the sales aspect of scaling a business. And that's the same with any product. It doesn't have to be a cookie. It can be a vacuum cleaner. It can be anything, in that the item itself is not the important part of scaling it. It needs to be important. It needs to hit on whatever it is you tell the consumer. It needs to deliver on that, but that's not the important piece. The piece is the needs of the market. It's the innovative product that has a market, consumers that are aware of their problem, they're willing to pay for it.
So I just really quick, is the book out?
The book will be out in January.
Okay, perfect. We'll talk more a little bit about that.
Okay.
We've got to go pay the bills, though, and you know about that.
Yep.
We got to pay the bills. We're going to take a short break to hear from our Spotlight sponsor. And when we come back with Tim Forrest for our Hot or Not section of the show, we're going to find out if owning a restaurant is better than selling your recipe. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And as you heard earlier, Brett Clark, BC Fitness Studio, is with us. I'm gonna give a personal testimonial for Brett and BC Fitness Studio. Thank you for being a sponsor, Brett. I have been working with Brett. I think I've lost track of time. It's probably at least maybe 2 years, coming up on 2 years. I realized after working out all my life that I didn't know how to work out in my 50s anymore, and he's got me in probably the best health of my life. I can play golf without getting hurt. I can get beat up by my grandkids without getting hurt, and I feel like I've got a plan for the rest of my life. So listen, Brett works not only in his own studio, he works virtually, can work with anybody, anywhere. And so I highly recommend BC Fitness Studio and Coach Brett Clark. And again, thank you for being a sponsor. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business leaders in the greater Puget Sound area, and in this case, beyond. I'm Brett Clark. We got our guest today, Tim Forrest, and we are in our favorite segment, Hot or Not.
Hot or not, we're not talking about the chili here, Tim. We're talking about Brett and I peppering you with questions about business, about food, about life. Who knows? We may throw in a little hot sauce at the same time. And you're going to tell us whether it's hot or not, and then why or why not. So, hot or not, Tim, owning a restaurant as opposed to trying just to sell your recipe and go retail.
Well, a restaurant is the founding of so many most successful food products, because you've got an opportunity to improve it, test it, and go forward. The issue is the skills to be successful in supermarkets and at retail are not the same being successful in a restaurant. So though you might find a successful item or recipe within your restaurant, the skills to scale that are not the same. And in my expectation or in my experience, supermarkets and selling your recipe is the way to go. That's where you can scale and make literally hundreds of millions of dollars in the supermarkets. And so many of the products you see in the supermarket, they are originated from a restaurant. So even, we were talking about Mother-in-Law's kimchi in the beginning. That did originate in a restaurant, but you're so limited to the volume of what you can do there as compared to scaling that recipe for retail.
So it's not hot.
It's it's a great beginning, but it's long term. I'd say it's not hot.
Hey Tim, everyone's a YouTuber. Everyone is a social media icon. YouTube marketing your recipes, YouTube marketing your products.
Right.
Is that hot or not?
That's hot, including TikTok. Yep, Instagram, TikTok, it's fantastic. I was just in a meeting yesterday regarding the internet. In the beginning, just to let you know, supermarket websites were not hot. Very few, even though some of the largest grocery store chains in America had websites, no one went there. There wasn't a reason to go there. There were four of the most successful supermarket websites in America, and there's a reason they were hot. It was hot because of exactly what you're saying. They had video recipes. So video recipes are hot. They lead the food category. It's such an important part of food, and it's so important for food brands to recognize it and put a lot of emphasis on their imagery and their video work that they're doing, their communications for the brand. So yeah, it's absolutely hot.
Well, Brett, do you know who the YouTube rock star in our group here is? It's Tim Forrest. Tim, I guess I'm just going to do a follow-up on Brett's question. Let's talk about your YouTube channel.
Sure.
How many people are watching and why they're watching it?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So I have I'm a business-to-business consultant and food consultant, and so I started my YouTube channel about 12 years ago. And so I've been able to, all of my clients, almost all of my contracts come through YouTube. They all mention watching my videos. I have literally clients from around the world that land on my YouTube channel, and I do business with. One of the most amazing things, when I started my YouTube channel 12 years ago, I can remember maybe a year in, I get an email from Spain. And so I wasn't even thinking about Spain at the time. I mean, that wasn't my goal to be international. So I get an email from Spain that says, Tim, basically, I saw your video. Can you help me with this? And I answered back, yes, I can help you. And then the next thing I know, he's signing a contract and he's wiring money into my account from Spain. And I'm like, wow, this is the most incredible thing. How in the world does YouTube allow this to happen? And it was just an amazing thing. And so if you fast forward now, I have 6,000 people imagine I'm a business consultant in a very small niche, food business entrepreneurs, food business owners, and I have 6,000 of those a month watching my videos. And then many of them reach out, schedule appointments, and I'm able to talk with them, learn about what they're doing, and in some cases provide value and help them to transform their business.
Awesome. Hey, you got a great recipe. Hot or not, though, you got to have a great business plan.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all we're talking about. The recipe does nothing. It will do nothing for you in the business without a business plan. I mean, absolutely nothing at all. And the reason is, you think about it. Think about yourself. When you go to the supermarket, when you go to a category, you see soup, for instance, or what? Do you buy two soups? Do you buy two types of cola? Do you say, you know what? Today I'm going to buy three brownies and put in my basket. No, it doesn't work that way. So you look, and then you're going to select what you want. Consumers don't buy three of what they're looking for. They buy one item and then take it home. Once they're satisfied with that item, they're not going to change. They're not looking for anything else. It's just on a shopping list. They go in. They're in a supermarket for 22 minutes. They run in, get their list, and run out. So there's no opportunity for you to be, really just making it strictly on the recipe. It's all about your business plan, 100%. And that's everything we've been talking about today is a business plan and thinking about it in a way that can scale the business and scale that particular recipe.
You know, Brett, what's funny is you asked him the question. You're a fitness guy, and he talked about brownies and soda. I thought that was that wasn't lost on me.
I'm having a really hard time with this. I am not the foodie of the group here.
Yeah, no. Well, we can focus this.
We can talk celery.
We can talk about protein bars.
The deal.
There you go.
Yeah, protein
There
bars.
you
So
go.
I did a video on protein bars. It was very successful about a year ago. It's just interesting. Yeah, but it's the same thing in protein bars. Once you settle on a protein bar that meets your needs, you're not looking for the best flavor protein bar in the category. Once you find one you're happy with.
Okay, hey Tim, we're gonna move away from food and go a little entrepreneur. We got a lot of people who are entrepreneurs listening to this.
Yep.
Hot or not, peer groups for CEOs, peer groups for entrepreneurs.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% it's hot. There's nothing that's transformed my business more than other people, than connections with other people. There's nothing that's driven my behavior in a positive format than the people I associate with, whether that be friends, leaders that I work with, even people that have written books and videos, to
specifically,
groups,
Tim, I mean,
peer
like,
groups.
like mastermind groups.
Masterminds,
like,
100%, 100%, 100%. It's really 110%. There, mastermind groups. There's nothing. I don't think there's very little that's going to impact you in a positive way as quickly and effectively as a mastermind group.
Right. That's I think when you become an entrepreneur, you become a solopreneur. There is that element of loneliness. You kind of feel like you're by yourself, and so definitely positive in something like the Shrimp Tank podcast that gets a culmination of ideas together. But sometimes it's just great for entrepreneurs, CEOs, business leaders to get together and to just talk about things, and see ideas from different perspectives. So yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
So do you have a question there, Brett? I was throwing it to you. This is your turn. Go ahead and ask another question.
How about some of these things they just don't ever go bad. Digging out the old family recipes, is that hot or not?
That's not hot. Again, I'm going to go back to everybody has a great recipe. So you can go, okay, just think about yourself. If you're visiting someone, it's a beautiful spring day or a summer day, and you're on the back deck, someone prepares some fresh prepared food, or you're at the lake. You've been at the lake in the sun all day, you skiing or whatever you're doing and having fun at the lake. If anyone adequately prepares fresh food, cooks it properly, and serves that product to you when you've been at the lake, you're with family and friends, that food's going to be awesome. But that doesn't make it a business. That doesn't mean you're going to be successful. It doesn't mean you can sell millions of dollars of that product. It's not hot from the standpoint of scaling business. It's great if you want to enjoy your family and friends and build great connections, but it's not, from a business standpoint, that's not what makes a business.
What if we take that down? Let's just talk farmers markets.
Yes.
We have I know here where I live in Paulsville, we have an incredible farmers market, and there's a lot of, they may not be caring about the millions. They may be doing this as a side hustle, maybe as a small thing. Talk about that market segment.
It's very
first
important.
of all, how is that a thriving area for these types of foods? And
Absolutely.
I'm assuming your book could probably help them too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're absolutely, it's important. And both Dano and Mother-in-Law's Kimchi, they started in farmers markets, and it's so important. You have to learn what turns on your target market. So instead of paying to have focus groups, go have a self-funded focus group at a farmer's market. So if you have 5 items, you'll find what's the best-selling item. But most importantly, you're going to learn how to communicate with your ideal consumers, with those shoppers. What's the terminology? What are the comments? What are the things? What are the reasons they're buying your product? And then you can scale that. This works. I mean, I did this with brooms. I've done this with brooms made in Mexico. You specifically find out what it is that they like about your product, the ones that are paying for it. And so when they purchase your product, you want to, quote unquote, you want to have a relationship. You don't want to just quiz them and interview them, but you are capturing that data, capture that information, so that when you're doing the TikTok videos, when you're on YouTube, when you're buying advertising, when you're designing your packaging for supermarkets, when you're out of the farmer's market, you're going to put the right things on there to share the right value so that you can scale that product. And it's so important. It's so hot to do that. So many people want to jump straight. They come to me, hey Tim, I want to go to Walmart, and they haven't even had a product at a farmer's market. They're like, they want to go straight to and hit a home run with Walmart and do several $1 million the first year. And that's not the way it works. It takes a lot of work to get there, and you need to understand what it is you're offering. You want to be successful. You don't want to scale problems, and that's what they're doing. You don't want to scale failure, and without those earlier tests at a farmer's market, at smaller stores, you don't want to go nationwide until that happens. So that answers your question about hot or not. Yep.
Yes.
Great.
Right. You got one to go before we go to break?
I just love that concept of using the farmers market as a focus group. I mean, how costly, how expensive are getting together focus groups, but instead have a farmers market utilize the audience and capture the data, just like you were saying. I think that's an absolutely genius idea.
Yeah, and it's profitable. I mean, not only I agree, it's genius. Not only and you're saving the expense. That's been the key that's resulted in millions of dollars of sales in my clients. Millions. I've had on QVC television, I've had over a dozen items on QVC television. I've had my clients have gone on to do over $60 million with club stores, and it begins understanding the consumer and making these things happen. 22 vendors, you don't just wake up one day and you're in Costco wholesale. You need to do your homework. You need to do these things earlier, and to do it and try to do it from your office, or not having not being informed by the consumer or shoppers with the decisions you make, you're not going to be successful.
Well, we're not going to be successful if we don't have sponsors. And so we're going to take a short break to hear from our corporate sponsors. When we come back with our guest, Tim Forrest, for our famous Plead the Fifth section of the show, we're going to ask Tim about the wackiest recipe or client he's worked with. Don't walk away. We'll be right back with more of the Shrimp Tank. And Plead the Fifth is brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Ideal Life 360, Cornerstone Financial, First Underwriters Insurance, the Kitsap Sun Newspaper Group, of course, BC Fitness Studio, and Upstart Group. Please visit our new and improved website at www.shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle to learn more about these terrific companies. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Shrimp Tank, where we interview the best and brightest CEOs and business leaders throughout the greater Puget Sound area and beyond. I am the co-host, Brett Clark, and today I got with us Tim Forrest. And for our next segment, Tim, we have got Plead the Fifth.
Tim, we're turning up the heat on the back burners. We're moving it to the front burners. We are, as my dad would say, cooking with gas. We're gonna ask you some maybe some more fun, harder questions. You can plead the fifth, but you can only plead the fifth once. So be careful. And I know a little bit about you, so we may have to. You may plead the fifth about what you did in Cartagena, Colombia. I don't know, but I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with, and you don't have to give names, but somewhere along the 25 years of working in business, you've had a wacky recipe, a client that had an unusual, off the hook type thing. What is the craziest, wackiest client you've ever worked with? And you can leave.
There's a bunch of them, but the wackiest one was candy Play-Doh, and so this was Play-Doh for kids. That she came to me, and the kids can eat it as candy. It was edible Play-Doh. I'm serious. I'm serious.
My granddaughters would go. You'd have to keep buying it, right? So the kid gets the Play-Doh, eats it, then you had to go buy some more.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And then the thing was like I'm thinking my kids are going to eat like a pound of Play-Doh. No, so. Think about if you, with some of the questions Brett's asked me, and I'll share with you, I ran it through my model. What do you think I did with them? What do you think we did to make them really successful? And she was working out of her backyard. She was working out of a 10 by 10 shed in her backyard when we met with her candy Play-Doh.
What do you think, Brett? Preschool. I think we take it to a preschool.
Well, what we did is, this is the importance of the recipe. I'm going to share with you what we did by not changing the recipe. So the recipe was not changed. What we did, though, is we changed the messaging we changed the consumer, we changed the messaging, and then we changed our channel. And so we changed the name. Turns out this product is a good use as a fondant replacement on wedding cakes. This product looks and tastes so good, and so we changed the name of the company to Fonderific. And then I created an entire marketing plan around the upcoming National Cake Show. So we were there, and then also I was able to get it on the Food Network on Ace of Cakes. So Ace of Cakes, if you remember at the time, they decorated all these high-end wedding cakes, different birthday event cakes, and fondant goes on there. And so fondant at the time was known as not tasting very good. It just doesn't taste waxy. A lot of people don't like fondant. Our candy clay dough, which became Fonderific, taste great because it was a fun product. So we created Fonderific, did that, got it on Ace of Cakes, and then she went from working in her 10 by 10 shed to having 30 employees and Small Business Administration Business of the Year nationally, just doing fantastic. We sold a lot of product. We didn't change the recipe, but we changed the job it did for the consumers. Went to a new consumer, found that niche, changed the name, and then had a marketing plan for the cake channel, which is totally different than the kids in the candy clay dough when we first met. And so that is the wackiest product, and the success they experienced is just unbelievable. It was just incredible, very exciting.
That's awesome. I'm inspired. I wish that I had some kind of recipe, because I would want to come straight to you, Tim, and get this thing figured out. But let's pivot real quick. In pleading the fifth, if you could start another business from a hobby, what would that business be?
If I could start another business from a hobby, it might be, I'm a prolific seascape photographer. So maybe it would be it might be something to do with my seascapes. I enjoy doing the seascapes. Some years I will take 250,000 pictures of the ocean, and so I share those. And then I do train. I do have people that come to me, and I take them on photography, seascape photography workshops, and so I do that. So that would possibly be it.
Very cool.
So, one of the things I know as entrepreneurs, and we all know, is that sometimes, Tim, we can be our own worst critics. For all those us entrepreneurs listening in, are you plead the fifth? Share with us something that you struggle with.
Something I struggle with. Sure. I have plenty that I struggle with. I struggle with doing. I struggle with working with rude people. It's just difficult for me to if there's not a connection with my clients. Oftentimes I have difficulty really producing for them. So a lot of the work that we've talked about, even though I have formulas, processes, and systems that really are so effective and have resulted in millions of dollars in sales, at the same time it's a creative process, and there has to be a connection and relationship. And so that's something that's really been important in my business, that there has to be some chemistry between the client and myself. And so that it's difficult for me to work with someone if they're in any way rude or too demanding, or if, a lot of chefs, and maybe half the chefs I end up talking to I don't work with, and I think that's part of the reason.
Yeah. Hey, I really appreciate where you came from. I love your story. Your website, the video on your website does a tremendous job of talking about that. You started Boots on the Ground. So let's go back to Boots on the Ground Day. Let's go back then. And what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Oh, wow. My 18-year-old self, there's so many things I would do. So I've been so successful in the last few years. I mean, massively, so much more effective in my business, life, and just in general. And for several reasons, many reasons. Number one has been who, not how. And so I thought I had to be the smartest guy in the room, do everything myself, and then I could do it better than anyone else. And also I wanted people to go, wow, Tim, you're the smart, you're so smart, you figured this out. What I've discovered, there's so many other people that are so much smarter than I am, particularly in certain areas that I'm not focused in. So who can I delegate this to? Who does this better than me? Who is out there, instead of me trying to figure out how to do it, who can I reach out to that can do it for me in an afternoon, or do it for me each month? It's something that I can't accomplish in a year or several years of training and learning. And so that would be number one, is finding that person to take care of something and delegate to. And so would be number one. And then the second piece of that goes along with energy. And so I'm all about providing value, and being in my energy level has to be in a certain spot. And by finding the who's to take the things off my plate that I don't want to be doing, has allowed me to have so much more energy for the things I do want to do and the things I do need to make happen, such as changing the name of multiple clients of mine. We've ended up changing the name, creating a more creative name, finding that market, putting together the programs for them to be successful.
So we couldn't have you be on here and not ask this question since you're all about food. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would that be, and what are you serving for dinner?
Wow. Well, so I probably Leonardo da Vinci might be one of them I would have for dinner. As far as what I would serve at that dinner.
Why would you have Leonardo?
Oh, he's just such a smart, introspective guy that broke broke ground in so many areas. He was so innovative. He provided so much value to his clients and to the people around him. He was just incredible, the amount of creative input that he was able to provide, and the transformation that he provided to his clients. I know he's considered a great artist, but really the work that he did, that he dreamed up and created in his notebooks and his ideas, he's said to have been one of the creators of the helicopter. Even though he didn't physically build a helicopter, he drew a helicopter and created that early on. He also created a lot of different tools for royalty, and that's how he was able to be an artist, is that he was creating all these useful tools that people were willing to pay him for, and that was the aristocrats of his time. And so,
what are you serving?
What am I
What's for
serving?
dinner?
It would be I'm not really sure. It would probably be a chicken product, some sort of chicken, pork, something of those two. It definitely is going to have potatoes, but I'm not really sure. We're going to have ice cream for dessert. I'm confident of that. We'll have for a salad, we'll have a very nice, finely chopped salad. That's about it. But I don't have any fresh, good food I love to eat. So it can be, if I'm in Japan, if I'm in Europe, anything they have there, like white asparagus. I was in Germany, and I was just loving the white asparagus. We were talking about Colombia. Some of the food down there is just so wonderful. You go anywhere, if someone prepared. When I was in Croatia, going to different chefs, and they don't have a distribution food network, food distribution like we do here in the United States. So there's not frozen food. Everything's fresh. You go to any restaurant there, and they're preparing fresh, good food, and they prepare it well. It's just awesome. The flavor is so good. So it need to be fresh ingredients, well prepared, and just sit back and enjoy the food. And there's definitely going to be bread, because I love bread as well.
Well, it's a fantastic job, Tim. And thank you so much for being a guest on the Shrimp Tank. For all the listeners that want to get in touch with you or learn more about your company, how can they get more information?
Yeah, they can jump over. If they want to learn more, they should go to my YouTube channel, Tim Forrest Consulting. I'm sorry, the YouTube channel is youtube.com/Tim Forrest Consulting. If they want to learn more about my background or anything like that, they can go to timforrest.com. Now, if they have an innovative CPG product, so if they have an innovative product they think could work well at Target, or work well at Walmart, or work well on Amazon, or if they have a food product they want to get into grocery stores and scale it, they've already have some success. So if they have some success with that, I can help them scale it massively. And they should jump on my calendar at timforrestmarkets.com. And I'd love to talk to them and learn more about what their growth plans are and what their product. And when I say a CPG, any item in a grocery store, any item in a Target or Walmart would be something I can help someone with if they have some current traction. They need to be able to answer my question, like, what are you doing with this product? Why do you think what external verification from shoppers or consumers do you have for this product? And when I know that, then I can understand what I can do with it, how I can help them expand and grow it. And my clients, as we talked about earlier, this is my 25th anniversary Tim Forrest Consulting. And so in the 25 years, my clients have grown by more than $1 billion in sales. I've helped one group, they sold their business for over $100 million. I've created products that have done over $100 million. And so I've seen so much success. I've seen so many different items. I can tell, even if they're only in 2 stores, I can help them to grow. And they just need to, if they're interested in growing, they think they can, jump on my schedule at timforrestmarkets.com. Thank you very much, Brett.
Hey, that's awesome. Make sure you check out all the replays on shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle. And whenever you get your podcast, whether it's Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, a walkie-talkie, please follow us on our show's social media pages, as well as on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Hey, Hey, first of all, Tim, thank you for being here. Thank you for being our guest. I'm going to jump on your Calendly. We're going to talk about making Captain Jack go viral with unleashed bourbon. Just, it's in my head. I know we can scale bourbon, but no, seriously, thank you for being on. Everybody catch his book and watch him on YouTube. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you, Brett. It was great to have you on, buddy. Thank you for filling this slot. Thank you for being a sponsor. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you as well. Everybody should do exactly what Brett said. That's get on our Facebook page. That's where we live stream our show just like this every Wednesday at noon Pacific time. Our next show will be Wednesday, December 28th. Our guests will be Rufina and Roger Holcomb with dental professionals. I'll have the incomparable Michelle Bomberger with me for that one. In the meantime, be safe, be well, be prosperous, and to those who celebrate, Merry Christmas. Because until next week, the shrimp is back in the tank. So long.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond, and the shrimp